Okay, this is part 2 of 80s toy commercials. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, you should go do that right now. I'll also include a link at the end of this video in case you want to watch it when you're done with this one. If you haven't subscribed yet, please stop what you're doing. Go click the subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the toy commercials.
My buddy, my buddy, my buddy, my buddy. Wherever I go, he goes. My buddy, my buddy, my buddy, my buddy. My buddy and me. Kid sister, kid sister, kid sister, kid sister. Wherever I go, you're gonna go. Kid sister, kid sister, kid sister, kid sister, kid sister and me.
My Buddy and Kid Sister. Each sold separately from Playskool.
So My Buddy and Kid Sister, that's got to be the most played 80s toy commercial. I feel like that was played on every single commercial break. That song's going to be drilled into all of our heads for the rest of our lives. I mean, there can't be anybody out there that grew up in the 80s that doesn't know the My Buddy / Kid Sister song. Now, I think the original commercial was just My Buddy. They added Kid Sister later. The My Buddy Kid Sister combo, that's the one that I really remember. Now, the funny thing is, like I said, they played that on every single commercial break. We all knew the song. We all sang the song because we heard it so much. But I don't think I ever really wanted a My Buddy. I don't know. I didn't have one. I didn't really have a desire for one. Not really sure why.
The Battle of the Sectors begins. Heroic Dargon, leader of the forces of good, is ambushed by evil Sectors. With the help of his loyal insectoid Dragonflyer, he fights them off. But they're just bait for the real trap. A far more treacherous enemy is waiting. The evil General Spytrax. Will Heroic Dargon be caught in his web? Watch the next episode of Sectors by Coleco.
So Sectors was such a cool toy line. I had a couple of them. I had this one right here, and I think there's actually a couple of pictures of me on my birthday right after I opened it, playing around with it. I mean, what a cool idea. It's a glove that you put on, and your fingers become the legs of the bug. The action figure sits on the bug, and you fly it around. I mean, it's so cool. I don't know why Sectors didn't become a bigger toy line than it was. I mean, it was a pretty big toy line, but I feel like for as cool as Sectors is, it should have been as big as like Transformers or G.I. Joe, but it just never really reached that level. I've been trying to find the Sector toys that I had as a kid for years now, but the wings on the bugs were so brittle that it's almost impossible to find one that's still intact.
My Pet Monster.
He's bigger than big.
When he fights battles, he always wins.
And he's your friend, too.
He breaks his chains.
Put him on you and break away, too.
With My Pet Monster, you're busting loose.
He's big.
And scary.
And helps people, too.
And he's your friend, too.
My Pet Monster plays all day.
Tough.
Awesome.
Looking great.
And all your friends will want him for their friends, too.
My Pet Monster has breakaway chains from Amtoy and American Greetings Company.
So Pet Monster is a really good example of just such a simple toy, but for some reason we all went crazy for it. We all wanted it. I mean, it's just a stuffed animal. The chains that broke apart was a really cool touch, but yeah, just a stuffed animal, but for some reason we all loved it. We all wanted it. I personally never had a Pet Monster. I did have some Pet Monster accessories. Like I think I might have had a sticker book and maybe like some school accessories, but yeah, I never had the actual Pet Monster. So right up there with G.I. Joe, which we looked at in part 1, this has got to be one of the biggest toy lines of the 80s.
It's Ewok Village. I must save my friends.
Let's set. I'll get him.
Dear me, what a close call.
It's C-3PO, new Logray and Ewok Village playset. Action figures, each sold separately. You have to put it together.
I'm Logray, the Ewok medicine man.
Take me to your leader.
Your throne, O Golden King, will celebrate with special stew, a barbecue.
No celebration for me until my friends are free.
Very well, Your Majesty.
Ewok Village playset from Star Wars Return of the Jedi collection. Action figures sold separately. New from Kenner.
So as a kid, I wasn't really too big on Star Wars, at least as far as the movies go. But I was one of those poser kids that loved the toys, and I had quite a few. I actually remember when I was a kid, I got a letter in the mail from Luke Skywalker, and he sent me a little C-3PO action figure. And my parents, you know, they were like, hey, look, Luke Skywalker sent you this letter. And they read the letter to me. He sent you a toy. And I was blown away by it. I never even questioned how Luke Skywalker got my address or knew who I was. And of course, you know, later on in life, I realized that it was one of those things that my parents, you know, they filled out something and sent away for a free toy, and it came with this letter. And so I never had the Ewok Village, even though I thought that was really awesome and I would have loved to have it. But I did have this.
The Empire's landed.
It's new AT-AT, the all-terrain armored transport from Kenner. Batteries not included, action figures each sold separately. You can make AT-AT walk. Its legs are big enough to crush obstacles. You can move AT-AT's head and pretend to scan for rebels. AT-AT has a cockpit for Imperial Commander and AT-AT driver, and laser machine guns. When you push a button to fire the laser cannons, you activate battle lights and sounds. There's even a troop compartment. New AT-AT from Kenner's Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection.
AT-AT was such a cool toy, and I really loved it, and I kept it for years. I actually still had it when my wife and I started dating. It wasn't in mint condition. I think one of the guns was broken off. It was missing the door, but other than that, it was there. It was all together, and for one reason or another, I don't have it anymore, and it makes me so angry.
Up and hills, down and dales, as we hit the dusty trail, Army ants we go marching along. We are bad, we are boss, we've got guts that swish and squash. Army ants we go marching along. Army ants. Then it's high, high, he for the anti-artillery. Shout out your orders loud and strong. Grab the egg! For where'er we go, you will always know. Army ants we go marching along. Army ants. Sold in squadrons of 3 and 8 from Hasbro.
So Army Ants is a great example of an 80s toy that really doesn't make any sense. I mean, who came up with Army Ants? But we all loved them. We all went out and bought them. I know I definitely had some, and I actually still have some. But yeah, they didn't make a lot of sense, and you couldn't really do much with them. I mean, they didn't have any moving parts or anything. You could kind of just, you know, move them around and play war. Speaking of super weird 80s toys that didn't make any sense,
Invasion of the Muscle Things. They've come to drive America nuts. They're ugly, they're weird, they're tiny, they're terrible, and they're pink. There are hundreds of them. It's an epidemic. That's going crazy. We're kids. Muscle Things. Hundreds of different, I don't know what. They run in packs of 4, 10, or 28. Sold separately, new from Mattel. How many can you capture?
But Muscles is another 80s toy that we all went crazy for. We tried to collect all of them, but I mean, there were, I don't know, it seems like there were thousands of them. I don't know how many there really were, but yeah, Muscles were so cool and such a simple little weird toy that, again, didn't really make any sense. I've got a few today, but they're kind of hard to find, and when you find them, they're not really too cheap considering, you know, that they're just a little rubber figure. Okay, so this is kind of an honorable mention because I wasn't able to find a commercial for this, but this is a toy that I had when I was really small, and I remember loving it, and so I wanted to feature it. It's the Tommy Turbo Dash. Now, luckily, I was able to find a couple of videos online of people demonstrating their Tommy Turbo Dash that they still have, but like I said, I wasn't able to find a commercial. Yeah, I just remember having this when I was a little kid and really enjoying it. And again, it's a toy that there's not really much to it. It's got a little screen with those trees that just repeat over and over and over again, and you just try and keep the car straight. But you know, a lot of us had this toy and played with it for hours without getting bored.
Why don't you drive a Tonka?
Fun and adventure, that's what you get when you drive Tonka trucks like Mud Runner, Roving Wrecker, and Jeep CJ, each sold separately. Trucks so rugged, so powerful, you know they're Tonkas.
Someday you'll be driving one of these. Till then, keep driving those Tonkas.
Why don't you drive a Tonka?
Mud Runner, Jeep CJ, and Roving Wrecker come with everything shown here, each sold separately from Tonka.
Tonka toy trucks have been a huge toy line for years. I mean, I feel like every kid in the 80s either had one or wanted one. I know I had a couple of different ones. I had a couple of the different construction trucks, but this one right here, this is the one that I really remember having.
Here's a real tough machine in action. Here's Tonka's mighty roughneck pickup. With Big Duke at the wheel. A working winch for getting out of trouble. With a jack and changeable wheels. The roughneck pickup.
The Tonka toy built Tonka tough for fun, fun, fun.
mighty roughneck pickup with Big Duke comes with everything you see here. From Tonka.
So yeah, that was the one that really stands out for me, that I really remember having, the roughneck truck with Big Duke. Such a cool truck. I remember on the hood of my Tonka truck, I took a sticker from my Masters of the Universe sticker book and I put it right on the center of my Tonka truck. So if any of you are ever at a toy show or a vintage shop and you see that truck and it has a Masters of the Universe sticker on the hood, get in touch with me right away. It's mine.
My little pony, my little pony. I comb and brush her hair. My little pony, my little pony. Tie a ribbon to show how much I care. My little pony, my little pony. I take her wherever I go. My little pony, my little pony. Oh, I love her so. I love you, my little pony.
My Little Pony, each sold separately. Collect them all.
So I can't really say much about My Little Pony. It's not something that I ever had, but I needed to mention it because it's such a huge toy line that's actually still relevant today. So I've got nothing but love for My Little Pony. It's just not something that I was ever interested in owning. But that theme song though, that's another one that's gonna be stuck in our brains for the rest of our lives.
Did I forget to invite you to the pool party? Well, maybe next year.
On those occasions when you need to make a big splash, there's the Super Soaker 100. It has a powerful air pressure system,
Oh, Buffy!
a range of up to 60 feet, and a drenching spray. The Super Soaker 100.
It's a water gun of a higher caliber.
Also the 50, or the ultimate, the 200.
Super Soakers has to be one of the biggest toy lines of the 1990s. Again, everybody either had a Super Soaker or wanted a Super Soaker. Even though I'm a really big fan of just the basic old school squirt gun, you can't deny that the Super Soaker is the coolest squirt gun of all time. They continued making Super Soakers for a long time. Unfortunately, they started to go downhill. They've recently brought them back and they're still not really as cool as the ones in the 90s. I made a couple of videos about them. I do enjoy them, but they're not as cool. There's a kid's book about Lonnie Johnson, the inventor of the Super Soaker, called Whoosh. And if you haven't read this book, I recommend picking it up, especially if you have a kid. It's a cool book to read with your kid. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this video, but we're not done yet. There's still a lot of toys to look at, so stay tuned for part 3. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you go do that right now. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.